They're coming. They're coming your way. They'll be here soon. Will you be ready?
Growing up, I got to see a lot of things pass me by in the world of horror. For example, I didn't grow up with Friday the 13th, but I was around when Jason X came out, and I wasn't there for the original Halloween, but I did get to see H2O, which is terrible. Please don't watch it. God, I'm serious, don't watch it. So this sort of formed into jealousy. Jealous that I didn't grow up to see these kinds of horror movies and the legacy that they were building, just sort of the aftermath and kind of the collapse. Nowadays, I don't really have to look any further for these movies, as every other year, these once horror classics are being rebooted time and time again into something lesser. Well, sometimes it can work, but it'll never be the original. So as a teen, I went to my local DVD stores or went online to search for some horror movies, but not the contemporary ones everyone else knew. The ones that I could keep to myself, something that I can personally enjoy and know that it can't have been ruined by its reputation because it never had one in the first place. This is how I found out about Sleepaway Camp. Often considered a Friday the 13th knockoff, the movie stars a young girl and boy named Angela and Ricky respectively heading off to summer camp. It starts off by showing us some past trauma that Angela faced as a little girl when her father and brother were caught up in a fatal boating accident caused by negligible teens of the same camp she's going to. From here onwards, we see that the two of them get into some camp shenanigans like water fights, volleyball, swimming, baseball. Oh my God, what are you wearing? Jeez, man, they're kids. Cover up. Well, I guess this was back when this sort of thing was more accepted and less viewed as creepy, or dare I say it, gay. Ooh. But see, there's a problem with this camp, and that problem is, you guessed it, someone's killing off the campers and the staff. Now, who could it be, I wonder? Can't possibly be that one girl with the traumatic past that constantly gets bullied and sexually harassed. Nah, that can't be it. Maybe it's that cousin of hers. Surely a woman can't possibly have the gall or strength that a boy has in order to kill all these campers. Ooh, what if it's a twist and both of these kids are a red herring? Yeah, needless to say, the movie is a bit of a poor whodunit story, as it's immediately obvious what's going on here, despite the many quote-unquote misdirections. Although, to the film's credit, it is a pretty enjoyable flick, and it's kind of weird yet understandable that people call this a simple poor man's Friday the 13th. The only thing linking these two films together is the fact that they're both taking place in a camp setting. Other than that, I think I really fail to see the connection, though I don't doubt that this was inspired heavily by Friday the 13th. I do think it's an enjoyable film, but nothing too special, but definitely not worth the scathing criticism that it received back then. The deaths are pretty grisly and the special effects were pretty stellar. Check out this guy's blisters. They're actually pulsating as he screams. I mean, that's awesome. Also, there's this one scene where one of the camp counselors leaves a bunch of kids behind so that he could just drive two other kids back to camp, and when he comes back, all the kids are dead. It's brutal, especially considering that these were like 8 to 10-year-olds, not your average teenager, which in movie standards were sometimes casted by 20 to 30-year-olds. God, the guilt this guy must have felt. I mean, I tell you, I really feel it. It makes my heart sink. There are other pretty good deaths too, but I think I'll save them for any of you who are curious enough to watch. I know most of you will ignore my warning at the beginning that has spoiler alert, so I'll intentionally leave out some major deaths and scenes, though I will be spoiling the end of this movie, so this is your last chance to watch it before it getting spoiled. It's not hard to find this movie. It's actually available in a lot of outlets and a lot of streaming services, so I'd say give it a shot. Otherwise, let's talk about why this is on Traumathon.
She's a Hey.
Jesus Christ, this ending scared me so goddamn much when I was younger. Do I even need to describe why I was so scared of this ending? The twist, oh man, Angela wasn't actually Angela, but Peter, her brother that was believed to be killed. It turned out that Angela died in that boating accident along with her father. I mean, it's kind of obvious when you look at the hair, but the twisted aunt that looked, I mean, oh, she took care of Peter, then forced him to be a girl for the rest of his life just because of her sick obsession of just having a girl instead of another boy, which she already has with Ricky. Now, of course, by today's standards, some people might view this ending as transphobic, and the usage of exposing Angela as really being a boy all along is sort of a dirty shock value tactic, more or less treating their transness as like a horror object, like, ooh, isn't it shocking that a girl can actually be a boy? You know, that kind of thing. Well, not even by today's standards was it viewed as tasteless. Back then, this scene was still viewed as pretty controversial, and many saw it, and still see it, as trans-misogynistic. Now, I personally don't want to get too political into this, as I feel Traumathon isn't really the right setting for that, but I will leave this wonderful article written by Cale M. Keegan in the description. I feel like that pretty much portrays how I personally feel about this ending in much greater detail, but if you want my quick and dirty opinion, then honestly, I feel like it's unfair to judge the movie just by the ending. Throughout this whole movie, we see Angela dealing with a ton of abuse, making her out to be more of a victim than a villain. I mean, it's true that she is the villain, but not because she's bad inherently like Michael Myers or Freddy Krueger, but rather because she's been a victim throughout her entire life, wondering who she really is, questioning her identity in some scenes, if she really is who she thinks she is, and all of this added by the physical abuse and mental anguish built up ended up in her violent, broken mind. The trauma that the current Angela faces, the bullying, the ridicule, the sexual harassment, the betrayal, the forced gender role, the anger that Angela felt, as well as her keeping quiet about it, led to her being as messed up as she is, and ended up with her exploding and killing anyone that wronged her. And of course, it's just so poetically happening in the same place that her father was murdered. In my opinion, this is more of a horror story of mental health and trauma going unchecked, more so than it is a story about someone just being trans, which is debatable in the first place if she really is trans. It's all pretty interesting, but that face, by God, that face, ugh. And the sound Angela makes with her mouth wide open, it's so uncanny, even more so when you consider that the way they did it was by getting a still image of actress Felissa Rose's face and pasting that same face on a mask and putting that mask on a drunk, yes, seriously, drunk, naked college student. Reportedly, the original ending had Felicia standing naked in front of the counselors with a prosthetic penis attached, but well, there were some definite legal issues with that, what with Felissa being only 13 years old at the time, and her mother absolutely refusing to having her daughter do that. Only in B-movies will you hear something this absurd. This leads to this horrifying, uncanny, and nightmare fuel image, and it still terrifies me to this day. This borders campy and horrifying, much like the rest of the film, which again, I highly recommend. It's a fun, scary, and campy, no pun intended, ride all the way through. Why yes, I'm almost certain it is.